I'm going to be talking a little bit about SELs today, which is basically slowly expanding lesions. And I'd never heard of these until the other day when I started reading up about something. I started looking up lesions, black holes, and I found something called SELs. So I don't know or understand a massive deal about black holes, and I don't feel like there's that much information to go research about these. So when I had my hospital appointment this time, I asked about them, and I asked what their relevance is and how persistent black holes are closely associated with these SELs. So I can try and draw you a diagram which she drew me, and I found it really interesting. So she was explaining that with MS you have a lesion, and within that lesion you have inflammation within that lesion, and basically then that inflammation can and will at some point eventually die down. It can go on to do one of two things. That lesion can basically become what we know as a black hole, where all the axons and everything die. Or the other thing that can happen, it can go on to become a black hole. There is a rim around the lesion that is created, and this lesion becomes what is known as a SEL, which is the slowly expanding lesion. And it's this outer inflammation here which is basically causing the problem, and it does what it says. The lesion expands over time and causes damage to the axons beneath the lesion. These SELs differ from normal lesions, which either heal themselves or scar over and remain static. And SELs, as the name suggests, basically expand in size and increase the damage that they do to the axons beneath them. SELs can also predict increased disability levels, and the greater volume of SELs is related to a higher risk in disability progression. While it also sounds like there doesn't seem to be many treatments, if maybe any treatments, that can target these SEL type lesions, because I think that there's nothing that can seem to penetrate this rim of inflammation around the lesion, which I'm guessing means that that's the reason that these are able to expand and then progress on to more disability, which also means that there's probably higher increased chance of obviously disease progression to go on to progressive MS, because these SELs are seen more in people with progressive MS. So you know what? This meeting was really productive for me, because I learned about these SELs and I've got so much more research to do. I can't really find that much about them. There's lots of trial papers and things like that written up about them, but there's not much information on it. The outcome really for me from my hospital appointment was that I'm not going to be going on to any other medication. On that day I had a sort of mini EDSS assessment, which they were really, really happy with my progress. They think that I'm doing really, really well. I suppose considering how long I've had MS for and how long I was on the Campath trial for, the fact that I've not had any autoimmune problems from the Campath itself is really, really good. She didn't seem to think that my back problem was related to my MS, although she did think it was inflammatory. She thought that possibly physio and maybe heat therapy and those kind of things would help, although not really sure, because my physiotherapist wasn't sure about physiotherapy and didn't really think physiotherapy would work because it wasn't muscular. So I think with that one, I'm just going to have to manage that myself and just find ways of coping with it with stretches, possibly doing a lot more intermittent fasting, that kind of thing. I don't know yet. I'm just going to think of a plan of action, but I think first things first is doing lots more stretches, which, to be fair, I had stopped, and that's poor on me. So I get back on those and see how that goes. So at my hospital appointment, I had bloods done, I had a urine sample just to check that whether there was any infection or anything. That all came back fine. I'm still waiting for my blood tests to come back. I'm also going to be booked in for an MRI just to check to see whether there is any new activity or any existing activity. But if not, then I'm not going to be going on to any treatment, because that's what they're looking for, really, is they're looking to see, is there any new activity on your scans, or is there, you know, or any enhanced lesions or anything like that. And if there's not, then I'm not going to be going on to anything. So that's kind of how it stands at the moment. They seem pretty happy with me, really stable. I'll just wait to see about my MRI, see how that all comes back. And if it's good, then no more treatment, manage my MS, see how it goes, and take it from there. I'm really pleased that I had these conversations. Really great team up there, really supportive, really lovely. So yeah, happy about that. I suppose one thing that I am going to take away from that day and the conversation that I had is that nobody will know the progression of their MS ever. No one's going to know that. We can all still take charge of our lives by doing things to help ourselves. There was one thing that she mentioned which can be really damaging to people with MS, and that is smoking and obesity. And I know these things are really hard. You know, if you're a smoker or if you're overweight, these things are really hard to tackle. It's challenging, but they're all things just to be mindful of, because they're all things that can be helpful to you in the future and managing your MS. Take care everyone, and see you soon.